A short time ago, the Senate voting to block a measure that would rein in President Trump's authority to conduct military operations on Iran. The War Powers Resolution failing in a 47 to 53 vote, or a 53 to 47 vote. Senator John Fetterman was the only Democrat to join Republicans in voting against the bill. Meantime, Senator Rand Paul was the only Republican to break with his party and join the Democrats. The House is set to vote on a similar resolution this week, but it is unlikely to pass. Joining us now to assess the impact of Operation Epic Fury and the vote we just spoke of, we have Congressman John Maguire. He's also a former Navy SEAL. Congressman, great to have you with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on your show. Right now we mourn our fallen, but we can honor them by finishing the mission. And it's just unfortunate. Right now, some folks in Washington are playing politics. When we have men and women on the front line, we should all be wearing the same jersey. That's USA. We can Monday morning quarterback and do politics later, but right now we need to support our troops. And if you think about it, when Obama had troops on the ground and was doing drone attacks for 7 months, nobody was trying to limit his options, because you want your commander-in-chief to have every option to make sure that our men and women win the fight and can return home safely. So I'm glad that Fetterman continues to be the adult in the room, and I'm glad they stopped it in the Senate, and I'm hoping that we can stop it in Congress and the House of Representatives tomorrow.
Congressman, there's not too many members of Congress that can speak to this situation from your perspective as a former Navy SEAL. We thank you for your service, both in uniform and now in Congress. So from a military perspective, I want to get your reaction to what transpired over the past few days, and if you could tell us why you think this has also become so politicized so quickly.
Yeah, well, it's figuring out why it gets so politicized. I think our country is very divided politically right now. But again, we are Americans, and I think any veteran, and I would hope any American would agree with this, and that is, if somebody saved your life, especially on the battlefield, you wouldn't care if they were a Democrat, Republican, or independent, male or female, black or white. We're all on the same team. We're all Americans. And if we could put those differences aside and work together, we could turn impossible to a possible and survive and win. But what is going on? Well, the first thing, we've had thousands of American soldiers and civilians and other people terrorized and killed by this regime for over 47 years. A lot of people don't know, but back in the early 70s, Iran had more women in elected position in their government than the United States. And they had more women in the workforce. And you probably saw old photos of women at the beaches, some of the best universities. And then this regime came in, and it's just destabilized the Middle East. I think a stable Middle East demands or must have a stable Iran. And this is a chance for the Iranian people to have freedom. Now, on the military side of it, the first thing you have to do is take out the leadership. The fact they were able to take out 49 of their top leaders in one strike is amazing. You probably remember the playing cards that we had in the Gulf War and things like that, where it takes months to get those people. 49 in one strike, that saves us months. And so that's amazing. You want to take out their command and control. We've done that. And now we need to take out their ability to protect war or power against our assets. And you probably heard one of the biggest threats they have, in addition to drones, is those ballistic missiles. And they built thousands of them. And we think they have 400 to 650 launchers. I think we've taken out half of them, or almost half of them, but they can hide them underground, hide them in bunkers, hide them in garages. As soon as they fire them, we can find them and destroy them. But the threat is real and it's still there. But we're getting air superiority. We're eliminating or neutralizing their Navy. And we have the best military in the world. And Israel and the U.S. have just worked together greatly. I asked Marco Rubio a question yesterday. I said, are you surprised that so many countries in the Gulf are supporting Israel, U.S. in this effort against Iran? And I've heard that France, England, and maybe even Germany are now on board. And he said, of course, if they're going to attack their own other countries. I mean, if you remember, the reaction Iran has or had was to attack the surrounding countries in the Gulf. And so they're like, okay, you guys really are the enemy. And now we have a concentrated effort to bring peace in the Middle East.
Yeah, there's really so much going on right now. We heard from the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, earlier saying that The U.S. could be just hours away from getting command of Iran's airspace, also saying that the United States is winning the war. In your assessment, does the current Iranian regime stand a chance against the barrage of forces from the United States and our allies?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so at all. And, what's crazy is there's been so many opportunities in history where the Iranian people wanted to stand up for freedom. They wanted self-government. And you probably remember a couple of months ago where they killed like 30 to 40,000 people in the streets. They've wanted to stand up. They've wanted our help. And finally, we are going to do it. And, the thing is, we tried. Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, they were doing incredible negotiations because we have a red line. You cannot have a nuclear weapon. And they wouldn't stop pursuing it. And they were very arrogant in the negotiations. And then, of course, they're building this massive supply of ballistic missiles that would stop us from stopping them from having a nuclear weapon. And so for the safety of the Middle East and the world, we had to stop them. And they are the #1 state sponsor of terror. And they said, if we get a nuclear weapon, we will use it. We're not talking thousands of people. We're talking 1 million people. And so thank God we have a President Trump, who actually had a red line. And when someone crossed it, he did something about it.
Congressman, you started off the segment here acknowledging the fallen. You yourself, former Navy SEAL. Yesterday, the Pentagon identified 4 of the 6 troops that were killed in the Iranian drone attack in Kuwait. What message would you like to send to our service members currently in harm's way?
I would tell them that you're the best in the world. You have the best training, and you have great leadership, and we are all behind you. Again, we can do politics later. I can tell you in my experience, when we heard politicians degrading our mission and what we're doing, it just tears up your morale, and you'll never forget it. We need to support our troops, let them finish the mission, and then you can, like I said, Monday morning quarterback, or you can critique it later. But we support you. We love you. You're the best. What you're doing is very important, and we've got your back.
Congressman John Maguire, really appreciate you coming on. Thank you.